right, so we're here in Washington Square Park, and I don't have a green dot, which always gets me. There we go, green dot.
Okay.
I'm here with Eric Sanders. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
You are a civil rights attorney,
Sometimes.
retired NYPD, right?
Yes.
Tell everybody your background for people who maybe haven't seen you with the great Sal Greco or some of the other media appearances you've made.
Well, for those who don't know me, I'm a civil rights attorney in New York City, and I represent a lot of police officers. I was a police officer myself for 13 years while I was going to law school, and now I take on many issues related to the police with misconduct and especially discrimination cases.
Yeah,
that's primarily what I do.
That's a big deal, is that you're taking the difficult cases where people are basically suing the cops. You represent Sal. Did you, is 50 Cent your client or some club he owns?
Oh, you mean Club Love and Lust? Oh yeah, I did that case too. Yeah, I represented Remy Ma at one point. I represented Ben Gordon, a basketball player who played with Michael Jordan. So yeah, I've done a few things.
That's pretty cool. So you're down with 50, not with Diddy. Man, we're already, see, we're having broadcasting problems.
Oh, yeah?
They got a full signal here. I've been here a million times. Let's just keep moving this way and hopefully we'll, I don't understand why that's happening lately. But so you were on with Sal not that long ago, and you guys were talking about the CRT, which is like the community response team.
Oh yeah.
And you said when you were a cop that it's very similar to the street crime unit, which, as I understand it, was some kind of undercover. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, street crime, the idea behind street crime was supposed to take care of robberies and things like that, especially with taxi cabs and liveries and other things like that. But their primary job was felonies, get guns off the street. That's their primary job. And in that time, they were undercover. They had plain clothes and they had unmarked vehicles. But then, of course, with the controversy over the years, they've now since changed. Now they may have unmarked vehicles, but they wear uniforms most of the time.
Because they like shot Old Dirty Bastard and raped Amadou Diallo and all kinds of controversial stuff, didn't they?
Well, that's part of what the problem is. Part of what the problem is that they had them doing aggressive policing, but then they took it way too far, and then it had all these constitutional violations. So then it came to a point where the department decided they didn't want it any longer, and the public didn't want it any longer. So then they got rid of it for a period of time. But if you've been around the police culture long enough, you know things, they have a way of resurfacing over and over again. They just reconstitute them with different names.
Right. Now wait a minute, did we already get cut off? I don't understand what's happening to me here, Eric, because so frequently my broadcasts are just getting sabotaged. It makes no sense. I've walked around New York City a million times. It says we're live. We'll just keep going. If there's any problem, we'll put it back from the recording after the fact. We got nothing but live music in here this morning. So they get aggressive with the policing, and as you said, it keeps coming back. And this is your specialty, is making sure this is the balance, right? We gotta make sure we respect everybody's constitutional rights, but yet New York City does have a lot of really unique issues in terms of violent crime. I don't understand what's going on. This says full signal, and you see this right here?
Yeah.
5G is 3 bars, and it just keeps saying poor connection.
Oh, we'll keep rolling with it.
I wonder if there is. So here's a question for you along those lines. Do you know this guy Oren Levi?
No.
He's dogged me, and Sal knows who he is, and
oh,
John
wait a minute.
McCarthy,
That's the guy with the
Israeli guy with the weed.
Yeah, is he with the what's the newspaper? Is that Viral News or one of those people?
Viral News NYC. That's him.
Yeah, okay. I know who he is because Sal talks about it, but I never met him before.
Well, see, I think he's affiliated with this, you know, one of these undercover things. Because when I was reading about the street crime unit, one of the things they said is that it did utilize undercover civilians, people who would dress up actors, do intelligence. Is that true to your knowledge?
I would be surprised, because then that would put the department in a position of liability, because acting as an agent for the police, no, I don't see that. You know, you see sometimes they'll have confidential informants, but they have to be registered. But they wouldn't just use civilians and have them involved in police operations unless they were registered confidential informants.
But don't they sometimes use confidential human informants? I mean, if they arrest a low-level drug dealer and they want to try to nab the whole gang,
Right.
don't they recruit those guys?
Well, they can, right, but they have to be vetted. Technically, the correct way to do it is they're supposed to be vetted, and then once they're vetted and the department accepts them, then they could use them as a confidential informant. You can't just take any person and turn them into a confidential informant. That would be improper.
But aren't you also not supposed to sexually harass your fellow police officers and
Well,
shake
that's true.
down local businesses
Well-
to hire Ed Caban security services and things like that? And
Well,
yet
that's true.
we see Eric Adams police doing this all the time.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's not necessarily unique to even Adams. It's this history of policing. You go back as far as 1645. This is how police officers and the police agencies were started from the very beginning with the Dutch rattle watches, and then it turned into the Peel model from London, and this is what you have now.
See, I think you should write a book or something, because your knowledge of the history of NYPD, I've never heard anybody know more about it than you do.
Yeah, the Dutch rattle watches. Most people never heard of them.
What is that?
Well, the Dutch rattle watches were the first so-called policing agency to protect property, and that goes back to the East Indies when the Manhattan was founded, and you go back to the company that started the property and started interacting with the Indians and allegedly bought the property, although there's some dispute about whether it was really purchased or really taken from them. That was the first police agency to protect the property. That's rattle watches.
Uh-huh.
Look back in 1607, you'll see them.
Now, what about that old school, here we have a scofflaw riding a bicycle on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
What about that old school police building over there on the west side,
Center Street? Which one? One Center? The old.
the east side I'm talking about, sorry, my bad. The one, it's over like Lafayette almost.
Oh yeah, the old police building. Yeah, they turned into condos. That's Center Street.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so that thing is right across the street from the Oddfellows
Yes.
building. You know about that?
No, I don't know about the Oddfellows, but I do know about One Center Street. They turned out into condos years ago.
It looks like fancy condos now.
Oh yeah. Very expensive.
And so did they leave there when they went down to One Police Plaza?
Yeah, but remember, Police Plaza has been there from the early 70s. So it's really a building that's been there more than a half century already.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know about the Oddfellows. There seems to be some kind of connection between the Oddfellows and the police.
Oh.
There was a connection between the Oddfellows and the whole George Floyd incident in
Oh, really?
Minneapolis.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, remember in that incident, George Floyd was alleged to have been doing something with counterfeit money.
Oh yeah, right.
And
I
there was a
remember
check
that.
cashing place in that
Right.
convenience store where he
Right.
was trying to pass bad $20 bills.
Right, right.
And there's another check cashing place right down the street at the same nightclub where he was allegedly like working at the nightclub with Derek Chauvin. They
Oh, really?
knew each other or something.
Oh, I
like
didn't
that.
know. That's the first time hearing about that.
Oh my God, there's so much to
Well,
that.
you know, see, the thing about trials, and this is what gets me to talk about trials now. You know, trials are only the evidence that's being let in.
Right.
That doesn't tell you the whole story. And depending on how the rulings go, you may not know, not may not. 99% of the time, it doesn't matter what trial it is, you're not hearing the full story. You're only hearing what the trial court judge is allowing to be entered, or to at least to dispute as far as evidence for a jury to consider, or for a court to consider if you're having a bench trial.
And beyond your practice in civil rights and civil cases, you do a lot of criminal defense as well, right?
Yeah, some cases I do, not many. I tend to stay away from it because, of course, I did police work for a long time. So I think there's some cases I'm interested in when someone's clearly innocent, but I'm not there to challenge charges because a lot of times that's what criminal attorneys are doing. They're not telling you whether their clients are innocent or guilty. That's not for them to pass judgment on. They're there to test the prosecution's case. That's it. But I'd rather not engage in that.
But you said something very important, and your experience as a police officer and now an attorney, it's quite unique. I mean, there are some people who do that, but not that many. Most of the time, people are either lawyers or cops.
Right, right.
But guys like you, I'm very interested in understanding your experience because I've known a few other people who have done that, and you have this unique insight. You
Oh, yeah.
just said that very often, you know, you're only you're only hearing the facts and the
Right.
evidence that's allowed into the case.
Exactly.
Isn't it true that the prosecution is very frequently dedicated to keeping certain facts out of
Oh,
the case?
exactly. Oh, that's true. You see, I'm a very straight shooter. Most attorneys won't acknowledge certain things, but I do. I'm a very straight shooter.
And when you were on the force, where was your beat? We're here in the West Village, and Village Cigars is now out of business. The city has changed quite a lot, right?
Oh yeah. When I was still a police officer, I was working in 101 precinct when I first started out. First, I was a rookie working in Queens North, and then I started working in Rockaway. And back then, this was all the crack era stuff. This is a lot different, a lot different.
Yeah, and I mean,
I even came to the Tompkins Park, the demonstration they had here, and that was a whole big riot situation. That's what made the police department change again too, because of all the incidents that happened with CCRB and a police officer. So yeah, I've seen a few things change over the years.
Now, when you say CCRB, that's the Civilian Complaint Review Board.
That's correct.
What was that? You talking about the Stonewall riots or what?
No. Tompkins Park, there was actually a riot in Tompkins Park. And there was a whole big demonstration down here for days and days at a time. Actually, I've seen a few of them. Tompkins Park, the thing in Washington Heights, that was another one, big major.
That was Jews versus black people fighting over somebody ran over a kid?
Yeah, that was a whole big thing. Then, that was Crown Heights. That's another one. That's the one in Brooklyn. Oh. That's the one in the 7-1 to 7-0 over there.
So these are like kind of flashpoints with the people and the cops.
Oh yeah, these were major demonstrations. I'm talking days and days.
And how has that changed policing, you think?
It's changed policing in different ways. Actually, it's gotten better, believe it or not. At that point, back then, CCRB wasn't a separate agency. It was part of the police department. So it was internal to the police department. And I mean, I don't know if the money's well spent on CCRB, because first of all, in order for you to evaluate these police officers, you have to even have an understanding of what they do. I mean, real understanding. That's what I think I'm in a unique position, because I've done it both ways. I've run, I've chased stolen cars, I've jumped over fences, I've disarmed people with guns.
You can
I've
see
done all
both
that.
points of view.
I can see both points of view. Yeah, so I've done a few things.
And so what's going on with Sal? He is one of these guys who got booted out for, he's for dealing with Roger Stone, an unequal application of the law.
It's just ridiculous. Matter of fact, the first case I took as an attorney was in the department trial room. And what was the legal issue? Criminal association. And my client was found not guilty.
But yet we have Eric Adams and Letitia James and all these big people in law enforcement and government in New York hanging out at Con Sofrito with Jimmy Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, especially the NYPD personnel, including their chiefs, the police commissioner, Ishant Sewell, a bunch of them. And no one's ever been disciplined the way Sal has been disciplined, which is pretty strange. Because if you even look at the disciplinary matrix, which is supposed to be the rules that they're applying for discipline, assuming you're found guilty of the misconduct, it says 30 days. And why was he terminated? And part of the problem is these cases is that the police commissioner has wide latitude and a lot of discretion on how to handle disciplinary within the ranks, because of the premise that, well, we're not here to tell the police how to control the agency and we want them to do all these different things. But I think the judges and the courts give them too much deference. Too much deference.
I agree, and I think they're in cahoots.
Frankly, there was a report written about the disciplinary trial room that talks about that very issue that the police department paid for in 2019. And it talks about the things that affect the disciplinary cases, such as political power.
Right.
Political bias is a big thing. And that definitely is in his case, because when I deposed one of the witnesses in this case, Lieutenant Cutter, and this is the live cases going on, he couldn't even tell me what constitutes criminal association. And what is knowingly? I said, what does knowingly mean? Oh, I don't know. Oh, so how did you figure out? Oh, we got together and we made a decision. Based on what?
Yeah, that's it. They just have a predetermined outcome, and then whatever the facts are, whatever your evidence is, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So I showed him a bunch of pictures of the police commissioner at the time, Keyshawn Sewell, who was at Con Sofritos. And I said, well, if he's taking a picture with someone what about this guy? He's Jimmy Rodriguez. He said, well, you got to understand the context. I said, we have to understand the context for him.
Right.
Does he get a different rule? And that is therein lies the problem. They weaponize the system for people they don't like or things they don't like. It has nothing to do with fairness. It has nothing to do with public safety. It has to do with, well, we decide who survives and who is gone out of the police department. Because if you look at Sal's record, when we're doing the discovery, he has no disciplinary record. This is the only incident. And what's even more important, when they did the investigation, because one of the allegations made against him is that he's going to overthrow the government. Well, guess what they found? He didn't try to overthrow the government.
Nobody did.
Nor did he compromise these city databases, because he followed department guidelines. So then ask yourself, why is he terminated? Now, people laugh, they joke about this stuff, say, oh, he's terminated, no big deal. Yeah, but you know who that costs more than even him? It costs the taxpayers. So now we have all this money.
Why? Because they have to be in a lawsuit?
No. Well, that's
well,
another
he's not
way.
a cop
I'm
anymore.
talking about he's no longer, you don't have the benefit of a trained police
Right.
officer that the taxpayers pay for. People
Right.
forget that. These people are trained. You know how they're trained? Because the taxpayers pay for it.
But
And
not
I
only
wrote
that,
something
they're
recently
firing
about
good
that.
cops.
Well, that's part of the problem too. So what I'm talking about is, this is not in the benefit of the taxpayers. This is someone's personal agenda.
Right.
And that's part of what the problem is. And it's continuing under this administration, and it's continuing under every administration. It's not even unique to the Adams administration. It just seems like there's more chaos here.
Yeah, no, it's a big problem. Yeah, and I mean, look, I think they're utilizing people who are criminals. You know, as you just pointed out, these guys are hanging out with Jimmy Rodriguez. They've had Cardi B at police events. She's got prior convictions, from what I've heard, on The Finest Unfiltered.
Well, she admits to certain criminal conduct too. She's talking about drugging guys and take their money, you know, manipulate them to sex and take their money. So, I mean, come on. And she went to the police academy as a role model to show teenage girls how they can become, you know, thriving adults in society. I don't know about that.
What about Eric Adams giving the key of the city to Diddy? We know you're down with Fiddy. That must mean you're anti-Diddy, because those guys are enemies, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess they are. I mean, only they would know that, but that becomes their own politics in the music industry.
But even so, there's no doubt.
The bottom line is, there's certain behaviors that you don't want to associate with. And
certainly not give the key to the
right.
city.
And the things that, well, see, that's the problem. Because the idea that you can give the key to the city, this is supposed to be in the benefit and the promotion of the taxpayer city, right? Not your own self-promotion. And unfortunately, these government officials too often promote themselves. That's what they're really doing. Like Cass Daughtry, he does that all the time.
He's become basically a social media influencer. Sorry, we got a lot of noise over here.
That's okay. Or as the South calls him, Bob the Builder. Oh my goodness.
Cass Daughtry has basically used his position as the deputy mayor to become a social media influencer. He's been promoted by Eric Adams, just like John Schell and other people who really should not be. John Schell, what's his story? He shot somebody.
Right. Before we get to John Schell, let's talk about Cass Daughtry. Cass Daughtry's only there for one reason alone. Because he's the keeper of Madre's secrets. He's driving him around to all his little subordinates' houses.
Jeffrey Madry, the chief of department, who is charged with sexual harassment. That's
no
your
doubt
client
about it.
too, right?
Well, Epps is my client,
Epps,
but against him. But I had another case against him. And remember, I have the transcripts from, I deposed him before. So he could deny certain things. That's okay. I have the deposition and the pictures to know what he did. So he got out of that case.
How is he still there?
I don't know. He's been doing that since the 90s. The first case, all you got to do is the research on him. In the 90s, when he was a rookie, he was shot, involved in some love triangle business in Staten Island. So that's where Cass Daughtry got his claim to fame, because of Madre. He was never a supervisor. Matter of fact, if you look at Cass Daughtry history, as a rookie, he got caught misleading the court in a gun collar in 2008 in the federal court. And guess he should have been terminated then. And he's been caught multiple times being not truthful as a police officer. I don't even know. He's not even swearable as a witness.
I mean, isn't it fair to say that the executive structure of the NYPD is more akin to a gang than any
They are a gang. I talk about that. I wrote a blog about that recently. I talk about, first of all, the civilianization needs to take place, which will probably free up another 5,000 cops that are in administrative jobs instead of doing
What do you mean, the
enforcement.
civilianization?
There's a whole lot of police officers who are just in uniform, have full arrest powers, and they have administrative jobs. They don't take an enforcement action. Either police headquarters, the local precincts, the local transit districts, the housing bureau, PSAs or police service areas, they're everywhere. And they're not doing any law enforcement work. So, and as far as the management, I kind of wrote about that recently, and then I wrote another article, and I'm getting ready to write another article. I kind of sent a tweet about it. There's just way too many managers. You have captains and above, you have deputy inspectors, deputy chief, assistant chiefs, bureau chief. I mean, how much money is being spent on this stuff? Steve, I've always been a critic of police officers and how much money is getting wasted. Like Cuomo came out with a press release today, talked about, well, he's an aggressive plan to get 5,000 more cops. So I tweeted about it. I said, this is misguided. We don't need to spend more money. All you have to do is make the civilians take those positions at the police officer, and guess what? Voila, you have 5,000 more cops, and you probably save a couple $100 million. Millions of dollars.
And isn't it true that you might get civilians with management experience who are better suited to
course.
doing those jobs?
I wrote a blog about it, yeah.
You're describing a structure where it's almost like because entrenched officers have dirt on the criminal activity of their higher-ups, they're able to advance through the ranks.
And they look out for friends with their friends. They hook people up from their organizations, whether they're from a fraternal organization or they have particular female officers they're attracted to, and then you'll see the female officers. I mean, come on. I've been around this culture long enough, I know the whole game.
That stripper who became a detective?
Well, I don't know how, I comment on that too. Jump up on a damn pole. In my day, she would have been gone.
Right.
I'm telling you, I'm very, very conservative what I think police officers both look like. All these beards, tattoos all over them, long fingernails, ponytails, all this sprays, all this garbage. No. Not in my day, they wouldn't go for it. They're not going to have it.
Because
they're overweight. The uniforms look like crap. I'm telling you, it's bad. It's really bad.
The overweight might be, I mean, everything, I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's a breakdown in the kind of propriety and the dignity of the uniform.
Yeah, but you know what's more important than that, Jason? Well, the problem is, once you have...
You gotta back up, man.
No, don't do it. No. The problem is... Whatever, I'm used to dealing with people like that.
Exactly.
But the problem
Here's another
is,
hooligan of a different variety.
I know. So here's the problem. When police officers are not in shape and look well, you know what happens? That's how they respond to things. And see, if they're not prepared, they're not fit, that all leads to all this would lead to aggressive action against people because they feel disadvantaged.
Exactly.
And you know what? When I was a rookie, I read a study that was promulgated by the National Institute of Justice, and it talked about they interviewed the FBI, interviewed all these people who are incarcerated for killing police officers.
Whoa.
And you know what they said the number one reason why they attacked the officer?
They thought
they could take him.
Yeah.
And that's why all that looking good and your uniform fit and you straight is all of probably 99% of the thing you got to deal with out there.
Exactly.
And these days, forget about it.
Because somebody like Sal shows up, he's like 6'5", 230, and it's like, you know what, maybe I better not do whatever this guy is telling me not to do.
Right. But
Some
remember
fat little woman, it's like, hey, shut up.
I've seen a police officer they just hired that was maybe 5'2" or 5'1". I said, come on, are you serious?
Right.
See, they got rid of the height requirements, everything. Years ago, when I was a police officer, and even before then, they had a height requirement. You had to be a minimum of 5'10". If you're a male.
I get it. I mean, look, it's like being on the Knicks or something. I'm not going to be the center forward. I just can't do it.
It matters.
It does.
It matters, believe me. It matters when I was a police officer, and it still matters today. Look, and I worked in rough areas. I worked in projects and stuff, so it was bad. And believe me, but they knew when we were standing out there, said, look, you already know I can get out of this car and catch you. That you knew.
Exactly.
So I used to tell them that. You know I can catch you, so if you
Don't
see
mess
me,
around.
I don't want to see no one out here on this goddamn corner. And you know what? My one of my police administrative aides used to live in the 41st Street houses. She said, I can always tell with you and Derek, because my old partner is Derek. So Eric and Derek. But they call us Batman and Robin on the street. But they say, you know, I can always tell you guys are working because no shooting.
See, that's what you need, though.
I said, I don't want to see no one out here.
You want the public to have confidence in the police and the criminals to be a healthy fear of the police.
I'll give you an even funnier story. So they even knew when we were working. So they would say we worked at midnight at some point because, you know, you work at 11:50 at night to 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:50. So we get off. They say, yeah, they're going to be off for the next 2 days. Yeah, they're going to be off for the next 3 days. I mean, they had our schedule down pat. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't give us a hard time.
Right. When you guys were on the beat, everything was kind of organized.
They used to have the parties, the shootings, all kind of crazy stuff I used to deal with. So yeah, I'm used to it. So that's why I can understand what the police officers deal with now. But I'm very critical of them. So if I talk to them and I say, listen, you give me cop speak. Don't talk to me like that. I know what you're trained to do.
And it permeates every aspect of life in the city. We got really an unsafe environment for business. I mean, we're in the West Village right now. This is supposed to be one of the most vibrant areas of the city. Almost every other retail space is out.
Yeah, it's sad. It's actually sad. You know, it goes to the whole political landscape, and you can't tax people to death. You know, one of the ways you stimulate growth is by reducing taxes, I guess, in a way. Then I guess what President Trump is doing makes a lot of sense, even though some people disagree with him, but it seems to be working so far. You know, to stimulate growth, because people think these tax rates and these taxes were so complex. No, all you had to do is go back to 1940 or earlier, and you will see that there was basically one sheet for taxes. And
now
it's funny
so complicated.
I know it was so complicated. That was my best subject in law school. That's how I remember that one. And the bottom line is, taxes were only collected to build bridges, infrastructure, and things like that. There was no personal income tax.
Right, and pay the cops and stuff like that.
Oh no, there was, infrastructure only, that's it. So that's where tariffs can be good.
Let's talk about a controversial Donald Trump decision. Early in his second administration here, we saw, and you can speak to this better than almost anybody, because from the lawyer's standpoint, we saw Emil Bove come in and take the unprecedented step not only of pressuring the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prosecutors, but he actually appeared and prosecuted that case and dropped the charges against Eric Adams. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know, I don't understand why they did it that way. Let's assume for a minute they wanted to get rid of the case, right? Then what they could have simply said is, well, you know, upon further review of the evidence, we believe that we don't have enough information or enough evidence to conviction or to secure conviction or beyond a reasonable doubt. Therefore, we're going to dismiss the case in the interest of justice. They could have easily said something like that. But instead, they made it into this whole big to-do that became a political football.
But they tried that, and the prosecutors said, what are you talking about? This guy's an arch criminal. We have 2 witnesses who are ready to testify. They tried to make it into, well, he's just taking, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of bribes, and that's no big deal.
Right, but that's where they went wrong. Like, if they would have said it the first way, the public wouldn't know anything any wiser. But once they started making it into politics of, well, you know, we don't want to interfere with the race and all that, well, if that's the case, then we could talk about the considerations for all cases. I mean, it's not unique to Eric Adams.
Anybody running for mayor can do whatever crime they want.
It could be any person. It doesn't have to run for office. What about the person, a family man or a woman?
Interferes with their job.
I mean, come on. There's a billion different factors you have to consider. Is that considered in other people's cases? I don't think so.
But what about all the stuff with the Eric Adams straw donors campaign? I mean, Sal and the guys on the Finest Unfiltered podcast presented so much evidence that Eric Adams was going to these Chinese businessmen, were having these millionaire parties that they said was a $500 barbecue. And
you know, it's sad because, you know, a lot of people don't know, or some people do know, at least from the police department know, that I know Eric, you know, and I know when I was
Eric
with the
Adams?
Guardians. Oh yeah, I know Eric.
From when you were on the force?
Yeah, I know Eric Adams. And it's unfortunate. And this is what happens with power, and I talk about this all the time. Power corrupts.
Right.
And the problem is when you do things for so long, you take shortcuts, etc., then you have these problems. And this is what's going on now. Because I'm sure he knows he don't have a snowball chance in hell of even not only placing, but probably coming in last place at this point in the mayoral race.
You think so? You don't think he thinks he's so great that he's going to win?
No, what he thinks and what reality is 2 different things.
Right.
All right? He may feel that way, at least he said it in the public, but I think he knows better than that. He doesn't have
But it's still a grift. He's going to get a ton of money.
Maybe, but so far he's been rejected funds, the matching funds, which is where you get all the extra money from. The only way he can have money is for private donors, and he doesn't seek matching funds. But listen, private donors, they're giving money to do what? Because they're trying to secure some kind of victory.
Right.
I mean, they want a return on the investment. They're not doing it for the love of politics. If anyone believes they're doing it for the love of politics, they don't understand the way money works, right?
Well, but this is the argument from detractors who say that this Emil Bove deal for Eric Adams was a quid pro quo. It's publicly presented to us that, you know, oh, Trump is doing this because he wants Eric Adams to cooperate with ICE and let ICE into Rikers Island. But I think even people who don't know that much could have easily realized that that was really never the issue. Eric Adams, I mean, normally a plea arrangement, correct me if I'm wrong, the basis of it is the person it's being offered to has the discretion to invoke the Fifth Amendment, and you want to get that person to waive that discretionary
and
right.
waive the appeals right. And some appeal rights you still have narrow, but for the most part, you want them to waive the appeal right.
But they have a right that they are being asked to voluntarily waive.
Right, which in essence will save money and time and money.
And in the case of Eric Adams, he doesn't have the same discretion to not adhere to federal law. It wasn't really something that he could deal on. But now we see that there's this issue with he vetoed the city council trying to stop this casino up at the old Trump property. That was his discretion, and that seems to benefit Trump. It's quite controversial, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but the ultimate question is, will that Bally's even get a license? Watch yourself,
We got the light
got
there.
the light, okay. Yeah.
But
So-
still, it's Eric Adams trying to help
So
Trump.
The question is, what's the benefit to the city? Right?
Oh, well, that's a separate issue. Do we want gambling and do we want casinos? It
Right.
seems like it might bring degenerates.
Yeah, well, it hasn't worked anywhere. Gambling hasn't worked anywhere.
Right.
It really hasn't. Pick any state you
Well, it
want.
depends on what you want it to work for. It's great for laundering money.
Right?
Did you park the Raptor over here?
Yeah, no. Those nice trucks, right? Now they can't sell cars.
Well, why not?
Oh, just in general.
Just too much money.
Oh, it's too much money.
That's
and
like
then have a huge,
150,000.
Yeah, they got a huge used car market. So yeah, the auto industry is in trouble.
Well, hopefully, I don't know. We'll see what happens with these tariffs. I mean, one thing is Trump is definitely an executive who is in charge. I think we've seen a lot of incompetent executives in Joe Biden, and it seems like that is what they wanted with Kamala Harris, right? We have this kind of like unelected Politburo that makes all the decisions.
And the question is, who was really making the decision? Was it even her?
Well, that's just it. It doesn't seem like it could possibly be. She's so stupid.
Yeah, she's very disappointing to listen to. I'm being nice.
Well, and now they're saying maybe AOC is going to run for president. I mean, she's not even 40. I don't think she has any experience running anything. We got to talk also about Zoran Mondami, thinking about inexperienced people running complicated things. What do you think is going to happen if he becomes mayor?
I think we'll survive. I say that all the time. You know, the one thing that the drafters of the Constitution got right was that Constitution. The way it's written, there's no one person that can ever completely control anything. So we'll survive him too, even his incompetence. Because remember, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be incompetent. I'm just saying inexperienced. Let's put it that way. But remember, all these governmental agencies are really being run by long-time employees.
Right.
And middle managers that's been there for
Bureaucrats.
5, 10, 15, 20 years or more. They're the ones that really run these agencies. The agency head really, it's just the agency head, it's figurehead, that's it.
But the mayor does have considerable power to change policy.
Yeah, but how does he come to those decisions? Definitely with people who are behind the scenes. He may be the face, but no.
I mean, I don't think we really doubt that Eric Adams has had a negative impact on the city, appointing, Ed Caban. What's going on with the whole criminal investigation? Do we know of Ed Caban?
Who knows now? I made a comment about that in the paper the other day because I represent Rodriguez with the 3-4, where Ed Caban's brother was up there telling the guys, don't shake down, not to shake down, but don't enforce against these bars like Mama Suchi is.
He was telling them to shake down.
Oh, he said, don't enforce against these people
because they were paying.
Services, of course, it's protection money. Right.
I mean, isn't that like a Batman episode where the twin brother of the police commissioner dresses up?
Oh, he pretended to. So when they say he didn't do it, that's false.
How is that not the biggest crime anybody's ever heard of?
Because no one cares. And the police officers know about this stuff. But who are they going to report this to? Internal Affairs?
Well,
that's the biggest joke. DOI? That's an even bigger joke. And the investigators? It's all politics. You know, when they go forward and complain, they're risking their careers and their livelihood.
Right.
So they say, yeah, we want you to report corruption, we want you to do these different things, but they're not serious about that. Remember, I wrote a whole piece about this whole thing, why police officers or why policing can't stop crime, because it's built on corruption. The whole system is built on corruption.
Exactly.
And that's the reality.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, just to get back to our original topic of the whole community response and the possibility of improperly vetted undercover people.
Yeah.
So this guy, Orrin Levi, and his brother. Now, I don't want to get into a whole, I'm Jewish, so I don't want to get into a whole Israel-Palestine debate. I'm not trying to take a side in that. I'm just observing. Orrin Levi and his brother, they told me they're Mossad. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, they're jokers, they're morons.
If they're Mossad, I don't think they'll tell you that.
Well, exactly. But that's what he
like
said.
Someone walk up to tell you, oh, I work for the CIA.
I mean, I'm just laying it out that that's what he said. And they are, for 4 years, they're constantly around agitating, assaulting me, trying to get me into fights in front of the cops. And the cops never do anything. I've had several interactions with police officers where I've sort of tricked the officers into admitting that they know him and know who he is, obviously, even when he's not there.
Right.
And we've got this issue of Ed Caban being in Qatar on October 7th.
Well, that's interesting.
What the hell is that about?
Yeah, I don't know. I still don't understand it, but I tell people just stay tuned, because when I write the Quatisha Epps lawsuit, which is going to be coming soon, you may see a few things like that in there.
She's the officer who was sexually assaulted by, what's his name?
Oh yeah, and they're gonna find out something else that they've kind of misled people on. That she did the outcry long before the overtime scandal even became an issue. We have evidence of that now.
Didn't the New York Post really kind of mischaracterize her role in that? They sort of made it seem like she was a...
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the whole scheme was set up to make it look like she was a co-conspirator when actually...
Yeah, well, that's the game.
They were laying money on her to implicate her.
Yeah, come on. That's ridiculous. First of all, there's a lot of overtime she didn't get paid for. They're going to find that out one out, too. And the thing that's funny is there are pictures of her inside police headquarters at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I thought you said she wasn't working all the time. And other employees are going to say, oh, no, she worked all the time. We always saw her. She deserves to get paid for the money, whether you like it. Misusing an employee is not fraud. The fraud is on the management. Right. That should be held accountable. The management, because after all, they're charged with the conditions, making sure to meet the conditions of the monies, not the employee. The case law is very clear on that. So this investigation or whatever anybody's doing is all red herrings anyway. That's what we call them in law school, right? Just to throw you off.
Right.
That's why I keep putting up the post with red herrings.
I saw that. Yeah, I didn't know exactly what you were talking about. But people should definitely be following you on X. People can go to @_ESQ Sanders. That's what is it?
ESQ_Sanders.
There you go. ESQ_Sanders. It's on screen. People can follow you there. You've also got a YouTube channel. You're very involved in media, so people can follow.
I try to get free information, because I think as a lawyer, part of the duty, the civic duty, is to give people information. Many lawyers don't believe in that, but I believe in it, which is why I write so much in my blog about different things, because other than that, you wouldn't know what's going on. Hiring an attorney is a big decision, and I think that you should be well informed as to what kind of information is available out there and what your rights may be. And that's why I write so much. And then I write more about the police department stuff, because the public really needs to be informed from the inside how it really works.
Or does it work?
Right, and the unions are not going to talk about it. The politicians have no idea how it really works. And the people inside are not going to really talk about it because they're afraid of retaliation. So they need someone like me to talk about it, which is why I write so much about the police department.
And I think it's good now that we have social media, so that individuals like you and Sal and the guys on the Finest Unfiltered have a platform, because it would have been impossible to get this information out before.
Yeah, because years ago you had to count on someone in the media writing a story.
Whatever.
Now you're your own media. You may not have the same reach, but it doesn't matter. You just need the right reach.
And it does seem like they're trying to thwart us. Part of the effort to simplify this today, I've turned off all of my complicated bonded array technology, and we're just getting blitzed. So this is what I wanted to ask you about Orrin Levi. There was a time, and this is speculation, I'm sure I'm asking you here, but there was a time when they had the whole Stormy Daniels' Trump prosecution, which was driven by Alvin Bragg and Letitia James and a bunch of people with the Lawfare Institute who are very well financed criminals, in my opinion. And my opinion does not reflect on you. These are my statements.
Right.
But the police, there was a demonstration down there in Collect Pond Park. And of course, Orrin Levi was there with some heavy thug so that he could intimidate me. And then, this guy was, advancing on me in a way that is civil assault, trying to intimidate me and make me feel an imminent threat of bodily harm. I think their game was, I do something that provokes that guy to punch me and then the cops arrest me. But the point is, when I started saying that to Orrin Levi and saying, look, you work for the cops. Here's this guy over here. He's got a cell phone strapped to his belt, 230, 5'10". This guy's a cop. And he was like shocked. And it's like, look, that guy over there is a cop. And they were all like, holy shit, how does he know we're cops? And the YouTube channel got immediately terminated while I was live. Right now we're getting disruptions, unable to broadcast. I don't know if they're terminating the channel, but do you know, I mean, I know you left the force probably before social media was pervasive, but do the cops have some hotline to YouTube where if someone's doing some horrible crime, they can just cut the YouTube channel?
I don't know. I know across the United States, agencies have been trying to do that, to get the social media companies to go along with that. I'm not too sure they do that because it's a whole nother First Amendment issue. And then if they do that, then the users may not trust it. And then guess what? Remember, their audience, their content is based on you and I and everyone else making content. Social media companies, by definition, are only content. They don't even publish content. They just make it available to other people.
But the YouTube channel got deleted while I was outing this seemingly undercover police operation, which, by the way, I wouldn't do that if they were undercover busting some heroin gang or Trende Aragua trafficking babies. It was that they were trying to get me beaten up and arrested, and I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do that. I don't even know if they would do that, but then again, see, the problem is you have people who abuse power in all areas of life, including in the government and law enforcement. So whether they have someone that's connected or not, who knows? But remember, oftentimes these companies, they have liaisons to law enforcement, and guess who those liaisons are? People who work in law enforcement. The insurance companies, everyone. So you see these investigators and all these people, 9 times out of 10, they're former law enforcement people. So remember, they know and they can make phone calls to each other too. I know because I worked for an insurance company doing insurance fraud. So yeah.
So it's inside people.
That's always inside people.
Well, because we had that shooting at 345 Park last week or 2 weeks ago, and the NFL is in the building there, and it's, what's her name, Kathy Lanier, who used to be the chief of police in Washington, D.C. when that whole Seth Rich happened. She's now the head of security for NFL. So, I mean, isn't that always the way it goes?
It's always the way it goes. All of them, the NBA, they all have people in law enforcement, and lots of them, trust me. The U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Marshal Service and the courts, mostly all those people at NYPD retired. All of them.
So it's really a bigger network than people realize.
No, it's a network. Believe me, it's a network of us out here. Believe me.
And do we know anything about that whole incident at 345 Park? That was a huge crime scene around the building, wasn't it?
No, but when it was happening, I was getting text messages about it when it was going on, when it's happening. So,
from who?
It's unfortunate. From other people, retired and active.
Wow.
Yeah, no, the police network is vast. People, I don't think they understand how it works. People forget. The police culture is a closed culture. It really is. They say they're open, but they really aren't. It's a closed culture. And believe me, we're connected to people that sometimes you don't even have an idea they even exist. And believe me, we talk to each other, we send people information, we always communicate with each other all the time. I still communicate with my partners from when I was a police officer. So it's a...
When did you retire from the force?
Technically in 2000, I vested out, 13 years. I was already in my second year of law school. So now I'm collecting my pension, but I wanted to do something else.
You were whatted out?
Huh? I vested out.
Vested? What does that mean?
That means I took an early retirement. But then when I hit my 20th year, then I started collecting my retirement pay.
So you were able to do that because you went to law school? Is that it?
No, I decided to do it.
I see.
Yeah, I wanted to do it. I had enough. I'd done enough jumping the fences and.
But it
all
seems
that
like
kind
there
of
was a
stuff.
real change to the NYPD and
Oh,
law
yeah,
enforcement in
big time.
general after 9/11.
Big time. That's the thing that almost made me come back, because when 9/11 happened, I was with my old partner. I was then working for the Legal Aid Society as an investigator while I was still in law school, and I was also working for CNA Insurance doing insurance fraud, commercial and personal vehicles. So, and that's the thing almost made me come back, because I was actually working that day with my old partner, and I said, no, maybe I shouldn't go back, because they're going to need me more as a lawyer than going back as a police officer. And
That's the thing.
But then I had a few friends killed also in 9/11. Yep.
I think everybody who was in New York at that time had at least a few friends killed that day.
Yep. I've seen a lot.
Man, you sure have. Oh, look at this. We got a dogfight about to happen.
They're facing
That's-
each other off, right?
Yeah, some intense staring right there.
No, they're not that intense. It's funny.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's so much to discuss, Eric.
It's funny. The last time I was over here at West Houston Street, we were going to a demonstration right around the corner. We were sitting in a city bus with about 80 cops in the bus. No, actually buses. There was a bunch of buses on this side to go around the corner, because there was a demonstration happening on 6th Avenue that was going up to 6th Avenue over to 34th Street.
Oh, wait a minute. Of demonstration of cops?
No,
was that
big, yeah, it was a big demonstration.
beginning
from
of COVID?
From Thompson Park again, going back to the 90s. I'm telling you, I've seen a lot. And it started over here, and forget about it. Hats and bats. It was bad.
So what was that all about? The cops were
No,
demonstrating?
there was a demonstration, and
they
there
were
was
going
a
to stop
conflict
it.
between the police officers in Tompkins Park, and it spiraled into a whole big demonstration for days and days and days, and it was a big demonstration here. It was crazy.
Wow. And do you think that sort of stuff has changed since those days?
Oh yeah, you don't see major demonstrations like that anymore. So when people think it's bad, no, it's not. It's gotten a lot better. I mean, it's gotten a lot better. Even the guns and things that happen now is bad, but look, in the years when I was a police officer, there was more than 2,000 murders a year. Now
Wow.
it's maybe a couple hundred, and not any murder is bad. But I'm saying back then when I was working, it was more like 2,000 a
Or
year.
it's lower, you're saying?
Oh, much lower, much lower.
See, there's something weird though about the demonstrations, because I mean, back to this whole unvetted, confidential informant idea. I was just walking home to my apartment maybe a year or two ago, and there was one of these Palestinian demonstrations going on at FIT. You know, when they had the whole Columbia, all the colleges were going crazy.
Right.
And this guy, I just noticed that of everybody in the crowd, he was very, very careful to cover his face with the scarf. And I found it suspicious, I've never been a cop, but sometimes you get a feeling about somebody.
Yeah, see, that was frowned upon. When I was around, that
Couldn't have a mask.
tolerated. No.
Well, that's what I mean. So it seems suspicious that this guy was so carefully covering his face, whereas I think the people who are dedicated to that symbol, all they want is that it's around their neck. They're not necessarily super covering their face with it.
No.
So I zoomed in with the camera and stayed on the guy, and I did get a clear picture of his face. And that guy assaulted me. He came at me with a stick, almost poked me in the eye.
Well, that was the thing we were trained to do something about, because you know what the bottom line is? It's okay to demonstrate. There's nothing wrong with that. But usually when people covering up their face and doing things like
Troublemaker.
that, they're getting ready to get engaged in criminal conduct.
But wait, there's more. The next day, I saw in the New York Post, or actually, I saw the New York Post, but the article was from prior to the demonstration.
Right.
Same guy.
Oh yeah?
Victor Parra.
Oh yeah.
And he had been arrested. He was a Venezuelan gang member, according to the Post, and he was in Rikers Island. So my question is, do they say, hey, you just got arrested for having an illegal scooter. It's not like you're a murderer or something. We're going to recruit you to work for Eric Adams' ridiculous, unvetted, undercover.
Yeah, but no, that would create legal problems. I mean,
But it seems like the same guy.
Yeah, but then you have people who are professional agitators. They love to go agitate different demonstrations. So, but I find it very difficult to believe that the police would engage in that sort of conduct, because that would subject the city to liability. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because you're always going to have people that are going to abuse the rules. There's no question about that. But you won't see it in that kind of stuff. You know where you'll see it? In like guns and drugs. That's where you'll see them having these so-called unregistered confidential informants, although they won't call them CIs. They'll say, oh, someone gave me information or a tip. Because to go through a CI registration is a big deal because it can compromise the case. So, but no, you. In
So
guns
I'm
and
using
drugs,
the
you'll
wrong
see.
terms.
Yeah.
They're just getting these ruffians to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, but generally they won't do that because it creates all this liability that they're not, listen, they do a lot of things in the police business, but some of them just, nah, it doesn't make any sense.
No, a lot of things
I've been
they
around
do
a long
doesn't
time.
make a lot of sense.
Like I said, there's a lot of police officers, so you may have people that may compromise themselves, but most of them are not going to do that. That's too easy.
Well, Eric, there's so much we could talk about. It's been so interesting meeting you. Thanks
Thank you.
for taking the time. And just let everybody know where they can find you on all the different social media channels that you're on.
Okay, yeah, you can find me on X, although I'm there every day now. You can find Esquire_Sanders, or have a YouTube channel you can find, the Sanders Firm PC. The website is also the Sanders Firm PC. And I also have my LinkedIn. You can look at the Sanders Firm PC or Lawyer Eric Sanders. If you Google me, you can find me. I'm all over the place.
He's all over the place. Thanks for talking to me today,
Okay,
Eric.
thank
Great
you.
to meet you.
Okay.
Thanks for watching,
Thank you.
everybody. And don't forget, you can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth by following me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribing there. You can also go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. And you can go to subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Somebody doesn't want me broadcasting live because I've been trying so many different configurations and permutations over the past few days, and it's just